Today on Papaw's Projects, we're going to design the next piece to the large 3D printer build. So stick around. Okay, so before we get started, as I said in the last video, I told everyone that I was going to print out the chicken stamp that we designed, and I would show everyone once I got it printed. And here it is. There we go. And it turned out pretty well. I don't see any issues with it other than the fact that I don't have any flexible filament. So this one's printed out of PLA. It doesn't stamp very well, but the design and the print of it turned out just as I was hoping. So when I do get a roll of TPU, I'm going to print another one out and give it a test run to see how it stamps. And at that time, I'll do an update on the stamp project and show you how it works. So that's what we have there. Then, as I said in the beginning, today what we're going to do is we are going to design the next part in the large format 3D printer build. I have got the wheels printed out. Let's see if I can pull those up here. There we go. I printed out 9. I can print more if I need them. I probably will need more of something. But 9 will get me going. That'll do my Z-axis on each side and the carriage going across the Y or the X-axis. So we need to design the carriage. We need to make a mount that we'll be able to put the hot end and the rollers on, so that it travels up and down the extrusion. So that's what we're going to do today. But before we get started, let me just ask, if this is your first time to my channel and you like the content you see, before you leave, I would appreciate it if you'd click on the subscribe button. And if you'd like to receive notifications, just ring that bell and you'll get notified anytime I upload new content. So let's go on. We're going to switch over to Blender and start designing. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to create a plate, and I'm going to start that out with a cube. Okay, now I'm going to switch to ortho view. I like to work in ortho view. It's just easier for me to keep track of that way. And then I'm going to switch to front facing, and then I'm going to need to resize this cube. So let me get a couple parts over here. Let me get a wheel and the extrusion. Okay, let me pop back over here so you can see what I see. Okay, so I've taken one of the wheels. Let me bring up this other camera. And I'm going to measure the wheel diameter of the part that rides on the edge of the extrusion. And it's 26.25 on that side. And just under 26 on that side. So we're going to call it an even 26. And $39.25 for the surfaces that it's got to ride on. So $39.25. And then 26. So let's double this. That'll be 52 and 30. That's 82. Okay, so we're going to make the cube 82 millimeters tall. Let's pop back over there. And I'm going to pop out this little window here on the box. And we're going to change it in the Y direction, 82 millimeters. Let's get rid of that lamp. Click on it, delete. Okay, and then the width of my block, I'm going to want 52, and then, you know what, let's just make that 82 as well. Let's try that. (82 by 82). Okay, now let's zoom out here where we can see this thing. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the side view because I definitely do not want to leave it at 2. Let's take it up. Let's take that up to 4 millimeters. And back to the front view and see what we got there. Okay, let's start with that. So, the measurement we got on the extrusion was 39 1/4. So half of that is 19 5/8. Well, 19.6 millimeters. Okay. So let's go and add a cylinder, 32 vertices, a radius of, this is going to be a standoff for the bearing, and the bearing was 8, so let's make it 10. I don't want the bearing to be able to rub against this plate, so let's call it 10 mil. Oh, no, that's radius, not diameter. So radius is going to be 5. And the depth is going to be, let's see here, the depth, we're going to want, say, 5 millimeters off of the extrusion. Looks like about a standoff of about 12 millimeters. This is just the first rough sketch, rough design. We'll have to make one and print it and then dial it in, I believe. So let's say depth of 15 millimeters. Okay. And let me go to the front view. Okay. Now I want that standoff actually only on one side of the plate. So we're going to take that up 7.5 plus half of the thickness of the plate, so 9.5. Let's just take it up 9. Z9 offset. There we go. Okay, and let's go back to the front view, and then let's go up and over. So we need to go, well, let's go down. first. Whoops. Let's go down from the center. Looks like 35. So let's go Y direction, offset 35. Whoops, I went up. Let's make that a negative 35. Okay, that is pretty far down. Something does not look right there. We started in the center. But if I look on my caliper, that's about right. So my plate is just a little small, but no, we're probably okay. Alright, let's try that. So we have one of our posts for the bottom bearing. Now let's go back and let's set this post. And what we'll do here is take the cube and we will go into the wrench and add a modifier, a Boolean modifier, and we were going to connect the cylinder to the cube. So I've got the cube selected. I've told it union is the tool we want, and the cylinder is what we're going to attach. So apply. Okay. Now that should be one, but we also have a copy of the cylinder still floating there, and we're going to take advantage of that. Okay, so oh, I'm already there. Okay, so now if I go back to the cylinder, and over here location was minus 35. Now if I change it to positive 35, that'll put a copy up top, and then I want to go negative X. Did I get that? Yeah, negative X, and half of 35 is 17.5. Well, no, we can do negative 35. Make it a little more stable. So negative 35. There we go. And now we should have two of those posts. And we do. So let's take that and take the cube, add another Boolean modifier, tell it to union that cylinder to the cube, and apply. Okay, so that should get us two cylinders. Okay, so now we have added a cylinder to the bottom, one to the top on the left. Now let's relocate this cylinder to positive 35 in the X and put the third post. Okay, now these numbers, keep in mind, are to the center of the cylinder. So we'll be able to reuse these numbers, these offset numbers, for the next section. Okay, so let's take and join the cube to that cylinder, and apply. Okay, so there's our 3 standoff cylinders on our mounting plate for the hot end. So now let's go ahead and get rid of this cylinder and start with a clean one. I could probably resize that one, but I would feel more comfortable if I just create a new one. Okay, so let's take, oops, I did not want to move the cursor from the center. I want to keep that cursor in the center because that helps me take all my measurements from that cursor point, so I surely don't want to move that. Now let's take and create another cylinder, a new one, and this time it needs to be, if I remember right, the thickness of the bearing was 7 millimeters thick, so we're going to change the depth of that to, oh, probably 9. I want it to stick out past the bearing a little bit, so I'm going to say 9 deep. The radius is going to be 4 because it's an 8 millimeter inside diameter. Now let me go back. Seems like I had an issue there before with some other things, so we're going to take that to 3.95. We're going to give it just a little bit of clearance. That'll be 0.1 off the diameter of the pin. Okay, so there should be our new pin, and if we scroll down here, we can offset it by whatever we want, and I'm going to need to offset it. We made it 9 tall, so we're going to need to go half the pin, which is 4.5, plus the 9 of the standoff, so that's 13.5, plus half the thickness of the plate, so that's 15.5. So let's call it 15. And let's go Y negative 35. See if that does it. Okay, our pin is nowhere near tall enough. We need to go up 9 for this, 10, 11. Okay, well, let's see. Let's go 30 just to get it up there. Alright. 20. 25. Okay, let's zoom in here a little bit and see what's going on. Okay, so we should have half of that pin, which we made 9, so there's 4.5. Did we make this 9? I can't go back and look at it now. I don't remember what we did. So we're just going to sneak up on it here. Let's say 23. 21. Okay, let's go to front view and go down here and let's switch to wireframe. See, make sure we can see that it's touching. Let's go 20.9. There we go. Now I know they're definitely overlapping. Okay, let's go back to solid view, and we should have up here, I like to try to keep this window clean. When I first started out, I just kept making all the pins and then joining them later, and what I ended up with is cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, and so on, and it really got kind of confusing. So I've kind of developed a habit of, I'll build one, I'll join it, and then I'll just move the pin that I made. That way I have exact copies. So I'm going to take the cube, which also encompasses our standoffs because we joined them, and I'm going to say modifier, boolean, union, and I'm going to join this new cylinder and apply. Okay, now let's go back to the view, and there we go. So our bearing will slide on this pin until it seats against this standoff, and it'll go no farther. So now we have joined this pin, but there is a copy of the pin that's free floating still here, and we're going to use that copy, and we are going to relocate it, and we're going to say X minus 35 and Y 35, whoops, Y minus 35, and what's the problem there? Let's take a look from the side view. No, okay, we're good. It's just the view. No, we're not there. We're not over top of it. Okay, so the green is Y. Oh, what we did was come back from the bottom to center. So that was 35. We went negative 35. Now we came back. We need that to be Y 70. There we go. Nope, I moved the block instead of the pin. Control Z will take that back. Oh, and there's another thing. I'm moving the block. So 0 and 0. Let's try this again. Sorry, I am never claiming to be an expert, but I did say that I would bring you along as I learned, so I'm learning. What I have is, this is the location, and I can transform the location, but I have the cube selected and not the cylinder. So let me click on the cylinder. That's what I wanted, and change this to positive 35, and then the X to negative 35. That's what I wanted. There we go. Okay, so now we're there. Let's go ahead, go back to the cube and join it. Boolean, union, cylinder, apply, and there we have two standoffs and two pins, three standoffs and two pins. So now let's go back and highlight the cylinder, and let's change that to X positive 35. Puts the pin over on the other one, and again we are going to select the cube and Boolean and union, attach the cylinder and apply. Okay, so now we have the plate, three standoffs, and three pins that will go through the bearing. So I should be able to delete the cylinder that's free floating in there, and we are good. Okay, so making progress pretty quick. Now I need a way to retain the bearings on here, and I'm thinking about just making it like a swedge. Slide the bearings on and then swedge the plastic out slightly. I'll explain what I mean here. First thing I want to do is I'm going to create a new cylinder, and I want this one to be a hole for a screw to go down into. So I'm going to say a 3mm screw, kind of like a short, maybe a sheet metal screw. So let's go and change the radius to 1.49. Don't know if that's going to work. Total guess. That's the nice thing, though. I can design this little piece, throw it on the printer and print it out, and then tweak it from there. Alright, and then the depth, 9mm that's fine. That's plenty of depth. Okay, now we're going to go back up here and we're going to offset it. And the Z, we're going to call it let's say 21. And the Y, let's say -35, because we've maintained the origin exactly in the center of our square. As long as we never move that, all our measurements are taken from there, and it makes it easy. I like doing this style of design. You can drag and drop and be artistic and make it all how you want it to look, and that's good for some applications. I'm a little better at being exact with being able to type in exact measurements, and that's why I was very happy when I found this little window to pop out. It helps me out a lot. This is what I learned 30 years ago. I think it was called manual data entry or something like that on the CNC equipment that I used to work on. We didn't have a CAD program. They wouldn't buy a CAD program. They wanted to save the money, and they had several CNC plasma cutting tables. Had a 6-axis robot that I used to program and teach the other guys how to program, but I did all my programming on the machine with manual data entry. So I learned it the hard way. And I'm not as sharp as I was 30 years ago, so I'm getting back into it and things are starting to stir up again. Alright, so I have the cylinder in the center of this pin, and this time, instead of adding it, I want to make a hole in my pin. So I'm going to select the cube, and we're still clean. As you can see, I have the cube, which now, if you want to know for sure, the cube is the compilation of the 3 standoffs, the 3 pins, and the plate are all considered the cube. I could rename that if I want, but that's okay. And then the only stray piece floating around the board is the cylinder that I am using to make these holes. So I'm going to take the cube, modifier, Boolean, and this time I'm going to go to difference. I'm going to subtract my cylinder from this pin. So I'll pick cylinder and apply. Now anything that cylinder was touching inside this pin should be deleted. And we're going to go back to the cylinder, and as before, I'm going to just reuse this cylinder to drill all my holes. So I'm going to change its location to Y minus 35. I'm going to now make it positive 35, and I'm going to make its X minus 35. And we have our pin there. Okay, let me scoot this down a little so we can see it. And it is perfectly centered because we're running off this origin point. So we've moved it here. Let's go back and select the cube, modifier, Boolean, difference, cylinder, and apply. And you see we did get our hole, and we should have just put a hole in this one. I'll tell you one thing I like about using Blender and designing this way with my direct data input. I'm dealing with object mode, so my meshes stay clean. I don't get them distorted and out of whack, which helps me a lot as I learn. I'm also doing the same operation multiple times, so I'm getting to the point where it's committed to memory and beginning to be second nature here. So there's our hole. We're going to move the cylinder over here, and we're going to do it one more time. And we're going to select the cube first because we want to subtract the cylinder from the cube. So we have to do it in that order. Alright, so I've selected the cube, Boolean modifier, difference, take the cylinder away from it, and apply. So now I should have 3 holes in my pins. I should be able to take this cylinder that I've been cutting holes with and delete it, and we're looking good. Okay, so now the next step is I want this to be able to swedge out and bind onto the inner race of the bearing, and I don't believe that's going to happen just by running a screw down in here. The screw will cut threads into this. I could put a washer on the end and then the screw, and that would hold the bearing, but I want to try this, so bear with me a minute. Let me take and create a new cube, and let's make this cube, have I got the cube selected? Yeah, cube 001, and let's change it. Its dimensions are 2 by 2 by 2. What did we make this? 9. Let's make it 5 in the Z. 2 by 2. And what did we make this hole? That's a 3mm hole. So let's make it 1 by 1. No, that's not what I want. I want 1, and then let's make this something drastic so I can see it. Let's make it 10. Okay, now let's offset it, and our offset to the top of that, this one here we may have to do some finagling, but let's bring it up 20 for now, and let's look at it from the side view. You have to have the cursor in the 3D view window here for your keys to work. If you have it off over here and you hit the hotkeys, they don't work. Okay, let's rotate that so we can see where it is. Okay, now we're going to take the Y direction, the green, and let's go -35, so we're dead center. And let's go ahead and bring the Z up to 25. Nope, that's too high. Let's bring the Z up to 21. Nope, not enough. 22.5. Okay, we're getting closer. 23. Okay, now we're going to zoom in there because I definitely want it to be taller than the pin. And it is. Okay. You may or may not see where I'm going with this, but it'll be apparent pretty quick. Okay, so let's take a modifier. Whoa, no, let's back up. Let's take the cube, then the modifier, Boolean, cube 1. Well, I did that wrong. Try it again. Cube, difference, cube 1, apply. Okay, now let's go back to the top view. You can't really see it, so let's give it a little bit of angle here. Okay, now we're going to get tricky. We're going to rotate on the z-axis 90 degrees. Nope. Sorry about that. I have to select my tool, or my piece that I made here, first, then rotate on the z 90 degrees. Now we're going to select the cube, modifier, Boolean, difference, cube 1, apply. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move that out of the way. Let's go to the piece that I'm using for a tool, and let's say change this to 35. That'll get it out of the way. Change this to negative 35 so we can start on the next pin. But before we do, let's come out here. And I'm moving this part around by holding the shift key down and the center mouse button. That allows you to pan, and then the scroll wheel lets you zoom in and out. So I've moved this up here so we can do the operation on the other one. But if you notice, down here on the bottom, I've cut slots through the end of it, and they're dead center because we entered the data directly in. Now I believe if I slide that bearing on and it's a nice tight fit, and then I run a small sheet metal type screw through here, it will cut its threads, but it will also, because it comes to a point, should also swedge these out so that they grip the bearing. I don't know if that's a good design for this application or not, but we're going to give it a try. The nice thing about being able to do this on the CAD and the 3D printer is it's unlimited. I can do it however I want and then modify it and redo it and just have a blast seeing what I designed come to real life. So, alright, let's move on. We have moved a tool over here to our next pin, and we are going to select the cube, Boolean modifier, difference, take the cube away, and apply. Okay, now we're going to select the cube, take away the 90-degree rotation, put it back to 0. Now we're going to select the cube, Boolean modifier, difference from cube 001, apply. Okay, so we should have just cut 2 slots in this one. I hope that works. Okay, now let's move over. Let's take cube 001 and change the X measurement to positive 35. Take it over to that other pin. Okay. So we're going to do it one more time. We're getting close, people. If you're watching this video, let me know what you think. I'm trying different formats and trying different ways to put my YouTube channel together. Trying to adjust the audio, trying to adjust the videos and the intros and everything. So I would definitely appreciate any feedback that you have for me. I know I make a lot of mistakes, and some of them are obvious, but others are not so obvious. I got some critiques that I asked for the other day, and I believe it helped quite a bit, because they were telling me that my intro animation was too long, so I sped the animation up to twice its normal speed, which I think helped, and I shortened up my discussion at the beginning. So anything you see that you think I could be doing better, just put it down there in the comments. It'll help me out. Alright, let's get some more slots cut. So we've selected the cube, Boolean modifier, difference because we're subtracting, cube 1, and apply. Okay, now we're going to take the cube and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. I just love this little window. Okay, now we are going to take the cube, Boolean modifier, difference, and cube 1, and apply. Okay, we should have all our slots cut. I'm going to pick on that little cube and delete it. And there we have it. So we have our mounting plate. We have our standoffs, which will get the bearings in the center of that round extrusion. We have a hole for a screw. We've cut slots in it, so these will swedge out and grab the bearing, and should keep them exactly where I want them. And as you can see, by doing this way, for anybody that's new, well, see there, I almost messed it up. You do the same operation over and over a few times, and before long it sticks pretty well. Some people are lucky enough they can remember it after doing it once, but that's not me. I have to do it many times anymore. The older I get, the worse it gets. Alright, so do I want to add anything else? I know there's things that I can put on the bottom side here for mounting. It's going to be getting a E3D V6 clone hot end, so I'll have to put together a mount for that, but I'm not sure how I want to do that yet. And I don't want to go too far into this project only to have to start over from the beginning, so I think this may be all we do on this project at this point, and then we will revisit it after I print it. Okay, so I think we did pretty well. We'll fine-tune it in the next video. I appreciate everyone coming to watch and work along with me, and I look forward to printing this thing out, and I hope you'll all join me again when I move on to the next phase. We've got quite a few parts to design and build for the new printer. A lot of things to learn. I've also, as I said, been working on my animations and my intros and stuff. I've learned a ton of things on creating these animations. My intro animation I did in Blender, and that was a very fun learning process. It's really pretty easy once you start working in it. It seems overwhelming at the beginning, but if you just take one operation at a time and learn it and apply it, before long you've got quite a few things learned, and you get your project where you want it. You can also check back. I've started doing a series on Blender, Blender Basics, where I'm going to take one operation at a time. Today actually would qualify for your Boolean operator probably. I may post that. No, I'll make a separate short little video for that that's just solely on the Boolean operator, and I'm going to put it in my playlist for Blender Basics. I'm also going to do animation stuff in Blender on that playlist. What else have I got? I've got a playlist for something else. What else did I create? The 3D printer build, Blender Basics, and I've already forgotten. Let me look. Can I look? Oh, see how my memory is? Okay. Let me look here. Sorry guys. Blender Basics. Oh, practical prints. There we go. The stamp. Yep. I knew there was another one. These design videos I plan on just being a little looser. It's just going to be more of me and you in the Blender, and mistakes and all. So it's not going to be a really polished video in this series. But anyway, I will call it here. I hope everybody learned something, or at least enjoyed the entertainment of me messing up a few times. And I hope you check back. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell if you'd like to receive notifications when I upload new content. I will get out of here, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thanks for coming.